Hello everyone, I'm Kayla and I'm just going to be going over Toggle. We have just completed week 3 and I'm going to be doing a general overview to help you study for the midterm. First we're going to go into a couple of terms and the definition of subluxation. You can remember this as MOPI. M is misalignment, O is occlusion, P pressure, and I interference. Toggle means to concentrate forces by the doctor to do work on the atlas. Recoil means concentration of speed for the purposes of magnification or effectiveness. Torque is a corkscrew misalignment of upper cervical vertebrae. It is equal and opposite to relieve misalignment. According to BJ, torque is a requirement to classify a subluxation. BJ also came up with hole in one, where hole is the neural canal of the atlas and the one is the dens. And just a brief overview of history, we're going to have to know some of the dates for the exam. And Toggle was first thought up by Al Wernsing, and this was BJ's mentor. And BJ was all about axis, and it was Al Wernsing's influence that allowed his philosophies to change later on. A little bit about volume 18, and this was originally called the axis subluxation, the axis adjustment. With Wernsing's influence, BJ then thought to name it the atlas specific, the adjustment specific. He finally settled on the subluxation specific, the adjustment specific, and those three book names we're going to have to be able to name in order for the exam. Some important dates and facts. 1910, the X-ray and Merrick system came about, and in 1920, Toggle was developed by BJ and Wernsing. In 1932, Wernsing did the had an upper cervical influence, and he used side posture table, Nasium, and vertex view. In 1934, the subluxation specific, the adjustment specific, is written by BJ, and he is doing upper cervical work, and he influenced Blair, Zimmerman, and Mears. Then, during that time, he also came up with the hole-in-one theory. It then goes to the 1940s, where the toggle table was invented by Clay Thompson. And in 1946, Grostic develops new life cervical technique at Life University College of Chiropractic. And he influenced Pettibon in 1961. In 1968, he influenced Humber and McAlpine, and also Gregory. And in 1971, he influenced Sweat. A couple quick facts to know for the exam. The axis will always carry the atlas during the delivery of the adjustment. The atlas will not carry the axis. That's very important to know. And you also always start the upper cervical by adjusting the atlas. Another quick fact is that the more lateral part of the spinal cord, it innervates lower in the body. And tissue pull on atlas is always S to I. Axis is always I to S and P to A, and torque is always superior. Also, the side of laterality is the side of the closed wedge on X-ray. This will also be the patient side up, and it will also be the contact pisiform for your adjustment. And then going to a quick overview of the X-rays. This first one here is lateral, and lateral X-ray will give you the second letter. It will also give you torque, and it will give you just the superior to inferior, or inferior movement, sorry. For Noodleman, he says that X-rays must always face left. I realize this is right. That's Franz for you. On this X-ray, with torque, you're measuring the degree of the horizontal plane line and the atlas plane line. The atlas plane line is given by the anterior tubercle dot, and this is the most important dot on this X-ray. The other dot is placed on the most narrow part of the posterior. This will give you the angle for torque, and if it's less than 8 degrees, you have AI. If this degree is 8 to 18, you have an AS, and if it's greater than 18, you'll have an AS+. For Noodleman, he does not want you to know the 8 to 10 degrees, which is normal. For the midterm, this is something I think everybody should keep in mind. And also, when you get your degree in measurement, make sure that you write it up here in the white area of the X-ray. For this one, I got a 28.25 degrees, which is an AS+. And in lecture, we're asked to list all the way up to 0.25 of a degree. Next, you'll go to APOM, and the nameplate on this X-ray is upper left, lower right. It will give you the third letter in the listing, which is your laterality of right or left. This X-ray is red P to A. It is taken 15 degrees cephalad That'd be tube tilt, or if the patient's head is extended, it'll be 15 degrees superior. On this x-ray, you're measuring the occipital plane line, and that is the most inferior aspect of the jugular process. You also have the atlas plane line, which is the most inferior and lateral intersection between posterior arch and lateral mass, and that's the red dots right here. Median line is drawn through the center of atlas, and you have to measure the atlas plane line and divide by 2. You cannot eyeball this, you will get in trouble. It has to be measured here. And then atlas slides up on side of laterality, so this would be a right, which gives me an AS plus R. We'll get the A later on from the vertex. And moving on to the vertex, we have nameplate in upper right, lower left. This is taken and read P to A. This will give you the 4th letter, which is your rotation of anterior or posterior. And with this, you have your atlas plane line, which is taken through the jugular foramen right here. The basilar dot on this x-ray is the most important. You have to measure this line and put it in the direct center. The median line is based off of this basilar point as well as your 3 points up here, and you're supposed to pick the line that best fits in between all of these, but it must go through this one. Once you measure this degree, you must measure on the side of laterality. So this one I measured on the right side. I got 82.25 degrees, remembering to measure to 0.25, and that gave me an A. And just to review, if it's less than 90 degrees, you have A, greater than 90, you have P, and if it's 90 degrees, this is normal, which you will not have a 4th letter on a normal x-ray. Once you get the A or P on this listing, you can come back to the APOM and write it in the I orbit. And that's everything to review for the midterm. Thank you.